Are you worried about a hurricane blowing your house down? Are you worried about the next big flood? What about alligators? There's alligators everywhere, right? Today, I'm going to talk about all the things that I would want to know if our positions were reversed and I were up north trying to figure out what info I need before moving to Naples, Florida. So if you're looking to come relocate or move to Naples, Florida, if you buy a new construction home, that's the best way to mitigate your risk and keep your insurance costs down, right? You're going to be built to the newest code. You're going to be built up nice and high. You can see how high we're elevated here. We're nearly 13 feet, higher than actual required by building code. But if you're buying a new construction home, you're going to be built high. You're going to have the highest standard of windows, doors. You're going to have a hurricane clip, so you're going to get the maximum credits. What if you can't afford new construction? What if you're trying to buy something older? What if you want to buy something older and renovate? Well, quick reminder, if you buy something that's older and you want to renovate, don't forget about the 50% rule. Right? If you're in Naples Park here, you can probably maybe do the renovation you need. If you're in Park Shore, if you're buying something that's $3.5 million, but the county or the city values a lot at $3 million, you're not going to be able to do the renovation you need to match the quality in that market. Hey, what is base flood elevation?
I know.
You're above base flood elevation. I'm about to get punched. Base flood elevation. So something that I recently learned, I always assumed base flood elevation was a set number. I thought it was roughly 12 feet above sea level, but base flood elevation varies by area. So what does base flood elevation mean? I'm no expert, so I'm going to generalize here, but in the event of a very extreme flood, it's a 1% chance, roughly. So if you're at base flood elevation or above, there's a very low probability of flooding. Now, if you're building a new home, you can choose to go even higher than required, and that'll reduce risk to the insurance carrier, therefore that should help you with insurance costs. So if you're looking to do a renovation, and again, let's use Park Shore Moorings, the high rent district, west of 41, if you're not in an X flood zone, you're limited on what you can renovate, and you're probably not going to be able to renovate to the standard to meet the market. But there's one exception. If you are an X flood zone, then you have no limits on what you can renovate. Just like standard homeowners insurance, which we've been talking about, the flood insurance is really specifically for flood. Now, if you're in an X flood zone, flood insurance is not required. If you're in an AE or AH, you're gonna have to pay flood insurance. How do you determine whether you're in a flood zone or not? That's determined by FEMA, and there's flood maps. Well, it's not just purely how high elevated you are. Other considerations are going to be how far you are from the coast and among other factors. Here's really what you need to know. Be aware of flood insurance. If you are not sure on pricing or your numbers, talk with your insurance specialist, get information. My favorite quote, or one of my favorite quotes, risk comes from not knowing. The best thing to do is collect the information. Don't panic, don't worry about insurance. Get the information so you can make more informed decisions. So the newer homes are going to be built up higher, right? Because as every few years the standard gets higher, so you need to build a home higher. So the height of a home makes a big difference, but the other thing is impact windows and doors. These things are rated for 100, 150 miles an hour, something like this. You're probably not throwing a 2x4 through it. And even in a strong storm like Irma, there wasn't 2x4s flying around, right? Most homes structurally were fine, even older homes, but nonetheless, you got impact windows, doors. You have the newer roofs that have third nail, the nail clip. When you have all those credits, these are known as insurance credits, it's gonna help you reduce the cost of your insurance. That's what your insurance company is looking for. So if you're looking at an older home, those are the things that you want to consider when looking to buy a home. And then when you get to a point where you're interested in a home, the best thing to do is get the specifics of that home and share it with your insurance agent so you know what the cost is so you can plan and budget appropriately for your purchase. I forgot you were there. That's awesome. If you're going to buy something that is not a new home, make sure you understand the age of the roof. That's a big one. Your tile roofs that are 20 years or older are really gonna have a hard time being covered. Probably not even gonna be covered by most carriers. Shingle, 15 years or older, you can probably get coverage, but it's gonna come at a premium. So if you're a financing buyer and your numbers are very tight on getting the approval, that can be a deal killer. Make sure you know the age of the home. Make sure you get very specific quotes. When there's a catastrophic storm, how does insurance pay for things? They go to reinsurance. That's part of the reason why insurance costs has been so high. The historic storms of Ian, Irma, among many others, they've lost money. So reinsurance companies, I think the statistic I heard this morning, 40 cents on every dollar that an insurance company brings in, 40 cents is going to the reinsurer. So they've lost their tail the last few years. They'll probably make money and make up for it the next few years, and hopefully that'll help us get to lower costs down the road. But that's what reinsurance is. It's a backup. They provide insurance to insurance carriers. I'm not getting you.
Hurry, run.
You're on the stairs. I'm not gonna. So let's talk insurance for a second. As we know, the last few years, insurance has been a challenge, right? A lot of carriers have chose to exit the market in Florida, right? Prices have gone up, so the assets that they're insuring have gone up. But here's an interesting statistic or data point that we just heard this morning. Florida represents 8% of the insurance policies for the US, but it represents 80% of the litigation in the US. What does that mean, and how does that relate to you and your insurance cost? Insurance is all about sharing risk, pooled risk. So all these cases of people pursuing litigation to get a new roof after Ian, Irma, or whatever it is, some valid, some probably not, we're all paying for that. There's been a ton of turbulence and volatility in the insurance market the last few years. The update we got from our insurance specialist, shout out to Jamin Eastman for a lot of help with this video and this content. The good news is the volatility we think is gonna be less. Not saying prices are going down, but at the moment, with some new laws that are just gonna go into place and it'll take a few years for that to come through, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully it's sooner than later. But overall, insurance has been a challenge recently. But the best thing that you can do is make sure that you have a home built to the highest level, have impact windows and doors, and have all the insurance credits you can. Go bring it to Miss Chanel or Miss Becca. Bless you. Good job using your manners. As a quick reminder about 844, how this is a fortress, as we call it, and even above the required building code. So we are almost 13 feet above sea level. You know, that is, I think it's six or 8 inches above what the required building code is. We have metal trusses. That's typically done in commercial homes. I've seen one other new construction home in the last 3 years that had metal trusses, and that's a home that's selling for $10 million. Above required building code, metal trusses, and then impact windows and doors. You have the highest quality, the most robust product you can have to withstand a hurricane or a flood. Those are a few of the things that I've learned as we built this home, built other homes, and dealt with a lot of real estate sales within the last couple years. I'm Drew Josephson with the Naples Relocation Experts. Thanks for tuning in. And lastly, a big shout out to Jamin Eastman of Chapman Insurance Group with help with a lot of this content. Are your kids gonna get eaten by alligators? Probably not. But to avoid it, just don't hang out by lake banks. Assume there's a gator there. Probably not, but assume there is. Just be safe and stay away from them.